When I was a child, I used to write poetry as a form of emotional expression. I had a hard time expressing my thoughts verbally, but words used to seem to flow the moment I put pencil to paper. I started to get compliments for my writing, and I felt seen. I craved that external validation and sensed that I had something to offer the world. I wondered, am I good enough to become a published author? By seventh grade, my writing had picked up, and I accepted an opportunity to submit one of my poems to a local contest. To my amusement, the poem won second place. My heart raced, and a warmth of excitement ran through my body. I was so proud. For a split moment, then it hit me. Who the heck won first? To my delight, I would be able to find that out. The top 3 awardees of the poetry contest received an invitation to have their poems be read aloud in front of a small crowd. Alas, a chance to meet this first place child poet prodigy and hear the life-changing words she had put onto paper. The evening of the poetry contest, when the young first place poet approached the podium, I leaned in to listen, ears wide open. Then a wave of shame overcame me. That poem sucks, and it's better than mine? I suck. I am worthless. I left that night deflated, and I never submitted a poem to a competition ever again. You see, by the 7th grade, I had already been shaped by the worldview that our worth is dependent on external achievements and external acknowledgement. The stakes became higher with age. Not only did my worth depend on my accomplishments, but the journey needed to be grueling. I needed to earn my worth and make sure I sacrificed as much as possible to prove that I wasn't lazy and I was not selfish. Once I accomplished a goal, I deemed it must not have been hard enough, and I moved the goalpost. I would have done that until I was on my deathbed, full of regrets. And I know I'm not alone. Our society heavily relies on external validation and achievements to define success and a sense of worthiness, which then drives our life choices, often driving us further and further away from what truly brings us peace and happiness. We champion hard work and self-sacrifice while neglecting genuine connection and human basic needs without stopping long enough to analyze the costs we climb the ladders that may ultimately lead to deathbeds full of regret. Sound dramatic? Let's pause and imagine if today was your last day here, what would you regret? Nurse and author Bronnie Ware discovered during her time working with people who were dying that one of the top 5 most common regrets is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And that's exactly what comes up for me. How about for you? Sometimes it's hard to imagine and to accept our mortality. We resist. We think we have time. However, in my late 20s, the hustle and self-neglect turned critical. Despite being in training for what I believed was my dream job, a time when many would be so proud and grateful, I developed pervasive suicidal ideation. I had chosen a path that I felt would prove my worth, as it was notorious for being a challenging road paved with long hours and sleepless nights. An opportunity to prove I was superhuman. As I advanced in training, my brain did not tolerate the forced sleeplessness. But I did not want to consider pivoting. At that time, I would have rather died than have been seen as a quitter. And that belief made me feel trapped. I developed what suicidologist Edwin Schneidman would have likely described as intense psychic. For me, this felt like unbearable pain in the mind, different than a headache. It was such a profound feeling of hopelessness. And I was desperate for relief. When we face deep mental pain, we may rely on substances or behaviors that numb us temporarily. For me, anorexia nervosa was my numbing agent until I hit a breaking point. Desperate for help, I surrendered. I flew myself across the country to an eating disorder residential treatment center as a last-ditch effort to save my own life. Once I was admitted and monitored overnight, I was informed that I could not stay. My resting heart rate was too low, and the facility transferred me to a medical hospital where I sat without eating disorder specialized care, alone. The eating disorder facility had taken my cell phone, and I was left with only one number memorized in my head: my mom's. But she was so happy. I was finally getting help. And she was going on a cruise that day. Do I call her and worry her before her trip? I have to call her. What if I die? I sat there, weighing the pros and the cons as I stared at the hospital room phone, reflecting on what could have been my own deathbed regrets. But maybe you can't see yourself in me. We think things like that won't happen to us. Again, we think we have time. I did too. The reality is, we may not. We may have many years ahead, or just today. So, what do we need to do now in order to reduce the likelihood of regrets on our deathbed? How do you live a life true to yourself and true to your values now? While all of our journeys will look different, these 5 steps can get us started. Step 1, stop. Rest. As I look around at the world, so many of us are caught up in the same hustle culture. Let's flip the script. Rest is essential in order for us to jump off the merry-go-round to truly sit with what we desire from life. When's the last time you've done that for yourself? Step 2, prioritize development and cultivation of profound self-compassion. I resisted this. I thought it was fluffy. Many of us have been taught to think that we must break ourselves down in order to build ourselves up stronger. That's garbage. Dr. Brené Brown has found that at the core of mental toughness is actually self-compassion. And when you ground yourself in self-compassion, you can start to heal your relationship with yourself and live within your values, knowing that your values matter. You matter. Which leads us to step 3. Define your core values. What really matters to you? Now, it may be tempting to write what you feel you should, but make sure to really sit with your list and identify if the list is true to you. This may take time, especially if you become a little lost in people-pleasing. I recommend you step away and really spend time observing your life. Identify where you feel in alignment and where you feel friction, frustration, resentment. During this time, it may be helpful to get professional support to process the thoughts and the emotions. You may experience grief as you start to let go of the life you have created, which is often necessary to start to replace it with the one you truly want. I highly recommend you get the support that you feel is best for you. And step 4, set boundaries. Time is a precious resource. We must determine what is in alignment with our core values and visions for our life and what is not. Then let go of the things that are no longer serving you. Thoughts, behaviors, people. What needs to go? What boundaries need to be set? And step 5, embrace who you are. It can be deeply lonely when we neglect who we are in order to try to fit in, when what we really crave is a place where we genuinely belong. Be true to you. Taking that advice back to my child poet self, back to the night where I sat with my parents, listening to my poem be read in front of an audience, I would be so proud. That writing represented me in my truest form at the time. A damn good rhymer, to say the least. If I could go back, I would have laughed with compassion about how neat it was that my crappy poem won second place. And I would have applauded that first place poet for her authentic self-expression as well. Now, before I go, if you start thinking about how to get the 5 steps done as fast as possible to check off all the boxes, I see you. I see me in you. I recommend we both spend more time on step 1. Stop, rest, and know. When we seek our value and worth outside of ourselves, we are looking in all the wrong places. Look within.